name is Dean Thompson, and welcome to another Escape to Gaming. Today I've got a very cool game that I want to talk about. Now, I'd already done an unboxing and impressions video of it, and that game is the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Now, this game has received a barrage of just incredibly critical and negative reviews, and I honestly, for the life of me, I can't see why. I was even apprehensive about playing it initially because I made the mistake of watching a couple of reviews from a few gaming colleagues, which I frankly respect them and liked most of their reviews, although they tend to be overly critical at times. The game, to me, is fantastic. I kept waiting. I said, well, maybe it's a few more hours into it. It gets really monotonous, or the story falls apart, or the gameplay gets bad. But frankly, it gets better and better. As I got 4 and 5 and 6 hours into it, and then beyond that, the game gets better and better. You can really level up. You have a wide range of abilities with your agents in the field that you can command. I think the game is fantastic. I think this game in particular has received some frankly unfair and unbalanced reviews that are just way off the cuff. Now, maybe they just don't like the genre, or maybe they have an affinity to the original XCOM Enemy Unknown, which I haven't played. And frankly, I was put off by that game because of the fairly generic $15 Xbox Live arcade game style graphics of it. But if the gameplay is fun, and like I've said before, if the gameplay is there and you're having a blast with it and you love the tactics of it, then it's a winner. It doesn't matter if the graphics are a little bit generic, or maybe the story isn't as stellar as BioShock Infinite or something like that. But to me, this game is a fantastic game. And I'm going to tell you why. So you play as this Agent Carter, and it's kind of through his perspective and his eyes that you uncover the whole XCOM secret military base and organization, and their frankly what their intent is, which is covering up, is handling this alien invasion that's happening across America. And it's also, at the same time, they're trying not to create panic by covering everything up as it happens. They're trying to get to the bottom of it. They have this wonderful secret base of operations, and it kind of gives you the backstory as to how the whole XCOM thing got started, who was behind setting the whole thing up. And you actually there's a couple of gameplay elements that make it fascinating. Not only do you have these wonderful squad-based missions that you can do, but between missions you can explore the XCOM base, do side missions, and level up. You can choose your agent roster, go through and assign new agents. You can customize them, give them first names, last names, change their clothing, their outfit, their loadouts. It's fantastic. I really was blown away at the depth of gameplay that this game offers. It really does offer quite a bit. Pretty cool. Great set pieces. Really brings a sense of the 60s feel and vibe with the interior design, architecture, materials, helicopters, uniforms, signage, everything. Really, the tile on the wall, everything is really authentic. There's my guys. Memory.
Gun down and chow. They didn't see it coming.
I like the art direction, it's great. Atmosphere. Now, one of the things that I think the game does right out of the gate, is it captures the mood and vibe of kind of that late 50s, early 60s sci-fi, fear and paranoia that Hollywood really picked up on. Lots of great movies, like the movie Them, the movie The Blob with Steve McQueen, one of his earlier films actually, which was right around that early 60s period. the Earth versus the flying saucers, This Island Earth, Forbidden Planet, and many more of these just fantastic films that depicted man's fear at the time. They had enough on their plate, frankly, with this worrying about Soviet, missile launches and all that. So they were like looking for something else to fear, and there was like a whole phobia, and Hollywood kind of perpetuated it with a rash of these sci-fi movies that were dealing with UFOs and alien abductions and all this kind of stuff, and kind of like monster films, but they did it with aliens. Well, that's where this game gets it right. XCOM Declassified really exploits that whole setting and style with the art direction, wonderful voice acting. It really captured the vibe and feel of the early 60s. Even some of the slang and the verbiage that you hear, some of the dialogue wheels that you can uncover, the way people are, view things at the time is very nicely portrayed. Everyone's smoking and drinking, the way they're dressed, the way they wear hats, their outfits, the setting, frankly, the environments of the XCOM base or the outer towns across America that you get to see firsthand, with the automobiles and the architecture and the cars and the signage and the graphics, the fonts that they selected and used. Everything is very well portrayed. Frankly, I take my hat off to 2K Games Marin for doing a wonderful job of really capturing what I think is a wonderful XCOM game. So initially you start off with a lot of conventional military weapons, M14 rifles and Colt 45s and all this kind of stuff, and hand grenades, and then later you get to use some of the alien technology against them by getting their weapons and using them and a lot of their powers. And as the XCOM base slowly uncovers the mysteries behind these weapons, you're slowly able to unlock them and give some of these powers and commands to your squads that you get to choose, as well as yourself. So it's fantastic. This game, it really inspires replayability because there's so many ways you can play. I'm already looking kind of at a second playthrough as I'm playing the first one. Say next time I'm going to use these agents as they have these special abilities, and they can, call the enemy out and taunt him this way, or they can plant mines. You can set up, kind of hologram distractions. It's fantastic the way the game is set up and how you can play it. The battlefield really comes alive as you're commanding it. Now, you can't stop time completely, but it slows it down to a crawl, and so it kind of forces you to think quickly. Some games you get a chance, you can freeze everything, you can go out and make a sandwich, come back, really figure out your strategy. This game, you don't have that luxury. You can see the enemy is slowly flanking, even in slow motion. You have to think fast and quick on your feet. That's the secret to winning this game. If you don't come in, if you try to run and gun and do it all yourself, you can die over and over. I already found that out my first playthrough. I started going through it initially and kept getting killed because I was trying to do a lot of the running and gunning. And then finally, once I embraced the tactical squad-based tactics of using my guys and positioning them and setting up diversions and getting them to focus their, look, you snipe that guy, I'm going to use my powers, lift this guy, and this my other squad mate is going to help me take him out. Get these wonderful combo kills with great audio cues and visual cues to let you know along the way that you're leveling up. So the game never lets you forget it's a video game first and foremost, but it really still does a great job. It's a fine balance of having a great story, in my opinion. It has a really wonderful story of the background of the XCOM universe, as well as kind of showing you the Americana at the time, with a lot of phobias and fears that people had about the alien invasion, and it's kind of you're as through the eyes of Agent Carter, you're seeing the whole thing unravel. So each town is like new horrific things that you're seeing. The aliens are kind of getting enrooted. They have these incredible, AA guns and giant, landing craft that have kind of taken over. Things are coming out of the ground. So it's fascinating as you uncover. Seeing your America that you love has all been morphed and changed by this alien invasion. You feel overwhelmed, and there's a vast array of new alien types and weapons that you're constantly encountering. So just when you think you've seen it all, they introduce a new baddie or a new boss battle, and it makes it really intense. It makes for some intense battles.
Lifting it! Attack! On your target! Area secure.
I left a few surprises for these assholes. Just say the word, and I'll set them off.
Glove out! Cover there! Lifting! Finish it off! Glad you're on our side. Taking heat!
Oh, shit.
I'm ready! Lifting it! Hit it hard! Take it out! Target confirmed! Attack! Confirmed! They're moving in! Are you okay? Walk it off! I need support over here! Down!
So a good portion of the time you spend your time at the XCOM base, where you can do many side missions, you talk to many people there, get background information to find out what's happening with the story, to what's happening with the technology that they're capturing. You find out, without getting too deep into the story in the way of spoilers, that the government has actually, stolen some of their UFO technology. They're working on their own, flying saucer, which you're going to use later to kind of go and take the battle to them. So the game just keeps getting more fascinating as you get on with the game. Within the game, again, you can explore the XCOM base, which is really cool. There's lots of side missions you can do there, which help you to level up and help you to uncover the secrets of the XCOM backstory, as well as some of the characters you're going to be working with, other agents. Now, you have the agent roster. You can go in and you can handpick your agents and customize them, and you can choose to use them in the field. You could actually have some missions which are what they call dispatch missions, which you can dispatch a group of agents that you handpicked, and you can rotate them to help level them up, give them the experience. They go out and they do the fight for you while you're fighting your own battles. And then after those battles are done, they bring back either new alien technology or a new agent or something special that you'll get out of it. So it kind of behooves you to take the time to level up each agent, customize them, send different teams out, rotate your agents, send them out, because if you lose a couple agents, because you have a permadeath ability. Now, the downside of it with this particular version of the XCOM game versus Enemy Unknown is the permadeath is kind of, it's watered down or it's diluted by the fact that you can replay a checkpoint. So, unfortunately, I choose just to keep pressing forward. If I lose an agent, I'm going to just lose them, and I'm going to just use one of my other agents. But for those that want the option, you can go back to the last checkpoint and then redo something. So it's kind of a cheat in a way. But it still you have the option of doing a permadeath. You also have the option of 4 really challenging difficulty levels. I mean, just playing it on the squatty, the normal base level, is incredibly tough. The game is challenging, it's tough. It forces you to use your squad to its fullest. If you're not frankly exploiting all of these special powers and weapons that you have, you're not going to last too long. And that's one thing I've really learned within the first 3 hours of the game. So you can easily be outflanked. You have to constantly keep your guys moving, and you have to watch them. I mean, quite often I'm giving first aid to them, or I got to call them to revive me if I'm down. So it just makes for an intense battle. That's where I think this game gets it right, is it takes it from a little top-down kind of a, frankly, cheesy looking top-down tactical game, which is how the XCOM Enemy Unknown appears on the surface, like an Xbox Live Arcade game. And it makes it much more, frankly, the graphics are way better on this than the XCOM Enemy Unknown. And now you're down in the battle. You're commanding as a squad leader your battle while you're there with your guys that you pick. So it's really cool because it gives you that up-close and personal action on the streets of Americana. And it's fantastic. That's what I love about the game. The story is great. The characters are rich with style. It has kind of that campy, cheesy, late 50s, early 60s dialogue and characters, and you can't expect too much. It's not a fantastic, rich story like what you get in Bioshock Infinite, but frankly, I think that the combat and the powers and the weapons, the battle themselves, I'm actually enjoying personally better than the battles in Bioshock Infinite, as wonderful as those were. It has just, again, wonderful graphics, the font selection, the HUD is very easy to use. Some people say, oh, it's derivative of Mass Effect. Well, I mean, what game is it? Every game is derivative of something else. I mean, the third-person shooter has been done to death. Now, I personally have a real love of the third-person shooters. I don't run from them like some people do. This game initially was going to be made as a first-person shooter. I think it was probably, that might have been a mistake if they had gone ahead and done that. I think the game plays very well as a third-person shooter. It's nice to see the relationship of you with your squad as you're taking on the enemies. I think it works well in that capacity. But it still gets you that up-and-close and personal feel, almost like a first-person shooter. So the game succeeds across the board as far as I'm concerned. So the Bureau XCOM Declassified, in my opinion, is a real winner. I give the game a really high mark. So naturally, I love the period and the setting, so it's easy for me to look at the game in a positive light. But as far as even squad-based games go, Brothers in Arms and other ones that I've just loved over the years on the PlayStation 2, the regular Xbox, and the Xbox 360, I like this even more. I think that the commands are fantastic. I think that it's just the way it's portrayed, the gameplay options it gives you, it's rich with abilities. It really promotes a second or third playthrough because there's so many new agents that you'll be able to use that have different specialties. So this time around, and quite often you have to pick and choose. There are a lot of RPG elements. So you choose a special power-up. Yeah, you can go for this extra health, but if you have this, you get an extra, a larger clip size. So you got to really carefully select every choice you make, and you feel that along the way. The fact that you can, permanently lose your agents. The fact that, your agents may die and you may have to have some other ones that's standing in the wings to use next is fantastic. I think the game is really cool in that respect. Again, the wonderful use of fonts, the authentic, feeling of clothing, the style, the orchestral music, which is just kind of indicative of all of those late 50s great sci-fi films. Did a wonderful job and really sinking me in deep immersion into this game. I think it's a wonderful game. I'd highly recommend it if you're a fan of those older sci-fi films, if you love science fiction, or if you love the XCOM and you want to see a different spin on it. I highly recommend it. I think it's a great game. I think the game has gotten some, frankly, unfair reviews. A game like Star Trek, which I was very much looking forward to, that game I could see. That game had so many bugs and issues, it was hard for me to get through it. I mean, it really was tough. But this game, I haven't seen anything that's broken. In fact, I watched a lot of, Phil at DSP did a wonderful live stream of some of it. I was watching it the other night and really enjoyed it. I couldn't believe the hate and the chat and the comments on it. Oh, this game sucks. IGN said it was mediocre, all this stuff. These are from people that can't think for themselves. They see a handful of bad reviews and then right away the game sucks, dismiss it, it's garbage, wait till it's $20. I think it's a mistake. Now, I paid $60 pre-order the game. I gladly would pay that, and I'd pay more for it. I personally really like the game. It's, believe it or not, is one of my games of the year. Even though this year is already rich with wonderful games like The Last of Us, and games like Tomb Raider, which I think is fantastic, and I love those AAA games too. This game is a close second to those. I really think the gameplay is that good. It's that unique and that fascinating. We don't see games with this kind of a setting that often. I mean, LA Noire was wonderful. I really love games that kind of take you back in time to a different period in America. This game does a beautiful job of that. If you love the X-Files, if you love old science fiction films from the 50s and 60s, I think you'll really enjoy the Bureau XCOM Declassified. So again, thank you very much for watching, and enjoy your games, guys.